media.
What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to The Fringe. I was going to release this video yesterday, but there was so much going around yesterday in terms of tariffs, in terms of Pierre. I wanted to make sure you guys had the right information in front of you as quickly as possible. But Danielle Smith, for those of us in Alberta, for those who admire what a real premier looks like, I wanted to showcase Danielle Smith once again taking action for Albertans to make Albertans' lives better, at least as better as she can under Trudeau's boot. Everybody, we recently went through Danielle's AGM meeting, which, if you're not in Alberta, is essentially a meeting of Conservative members to essentially vote through whether they believe Danielle is doing a good job or not. Now, we had heard at the time that I brought Danielle on the channel for an interview of possibility shenanigans, of special interest groups going in there to sabotage said vote. We've seen many people who used to formally support Danielle Smith also going for that vote to ensure that their voices were heard, and it left a lot of questions in the air with, do we believe Danielle has done a good job for Alberta? Do we believe that she's going to continue to do a good job for Alberta? And a lot of people voicing that they believe that she hasn't done a lot in terms of her promises. She hasn't fulfilled a lot of what she's bringing to table. Well, today, ladies and gentlemen, I want to take a look at what's out in the open here with Danielle Smith as she sat down with the press to announce action against the federal government's emissions caps. Because Danielle Smith doesn't believe in Alberta pulling back its GDP. They don't believe in us losing jobs or telling people to go home and figure out how they're going to make their living. She knows that it's unconstitutional, what the federal government is asking. She's made very scathing comments about Stephen Guilbeault in the past. Let's take a look at what Danielle had to announce at her press conference yesterday. Let's take a listen.
Well, good afternoon, everyone, and thanks for joining us here today. I'm here with the Minister of Environment, Rebecca Schultz. I also have Ministers Mickey Amory, our Minister of Justice, and Minister of Energy and Minerals, Brian Jean, here with me as well. They may have to go because we're on 1 minute bells, but they will be able to come back and answer questions if they end up getting called out of here. But we are here today to announce that we'll be putting forward a government motion under the Alberta Sovereignty Within a United Canada Act in response to the federal government's use of oil and gas emissions cap regulations. We've been very clear that we will use all means at our disposal to fight back against federal policies that hurt Alberta, and that's exactly what we're doing. On November the 4th, Ottawa released details of its oil and gas emissions cap, which is a de facto production cap. The cap violates Section 92A of the Constitution, which clearly gives provinces exclusive jurisdiction over non-renewable natural resource development. When it's in place, this cap will require a production cut of 1 million barrels a day by 2030. Estimates indicate that 150,000 workers across the country will lose their jobs, and tens of billions of dollars will disappear from Canada's GDP and government revenues, devastating the economy and public spending. That includes a forecast 5% decline in revenue for Alberta by 2035. Ottawa seems to think that they need to save us from ourselves, but they are wrong, because we're not just working with industry to continue to drive down emissions, we're succeeding at it. Alberta already has a system in place that is working. Emissions per barrel are declining, even as production and contribution to GDP grows. Alberta's energy industry doesn't just provide jobs to Albertans, but to Canadians all across our country. And it doesn't just power Alberta's economy, it powers Canada's. By now, you've seen our Scrap the Cap ads to unite workers, businesses, and governments in support of our energy industry, energy security, and economic affordability. Those ads are running right now across Canada. We are warning everyone who stands to lose from the cap, which is pretty much all Canadians. We're telling Ottawa to throw out this ill-conceived activist fantasy and get behind Alberta's leadership by investing in real technology that cuts emissions without wrecking Canada's prosperity. Because this cap could further stall investment in emissions reduction and undermine the effectiveness of existing provincial approaches that are driving reductions. We know that we need to do more than just marshal facts in our favor and make the case. We're fighting back with every weapon in our arsenal. The Alberta Sovereignty Within a United Canada Act was designed to protect our province from unconstitutional interference, and now we're going to use it again. The motion we're putting forward in the legislature uses the Act to ask the Legislative Assembly for approval to shield Alberta if the production cap becomes law. These actions could include an immediate constitutional challenge in the courts, a ban on provincial bodies enforcing the cap, labeling oil and gas production facilities as essential infrastructure subject to the Alberta Critical Infrastructure Defence Act, prohibiting the entry of all individuals into these facilities except those licensed to enter by the Alberta government, and declaring all information related to greenhouse gases at these facilities to be owned by Alberta's government, with data reported or disclosed at our discretion. This is not a complete list of everything we plan to do, but it's a sign of things to come. It shows how we will respond if the federal government forces us to do so. If the motion passes, we'll act fast to get ready for Ottawa's destructive cap. Albertans expect no less. We'll defend Alberta's prosperity, Alberta's livelihood, and our energy industry. This
Don't you just love that woman? Don't you just love everything she's about? I mean, God, I wish to God this woman would run for Prime Minister of Canada at some point. I hope she does, at least. That'd be great, but I digress. Seeing Danielle stand up to say, look, we're going to stop people from entering these facilities. We're going to shut them down. We're going to make sure that the government is on the hook to manage the documents coming out in order to protect jobs, in order to protect people across the country and jobs across the country. Don't forget as well, one thing she doesn't mention in this speech is transfer payments. In fact, Quebec, as one of the provinces who stands against Alberta the most, takes the most transfer payments out of any other province in this country, to the tune of almost $17 billion per year. It's alarming to think that a province like Quebec would take so much money and yet slam Alberta's oil and gas industry, when realistically, we've always said in this province, we're more than happy to share with people so long as we can get our product to market. You would think at that point Quebec would see the benefits and say, okay, let's put in energy east. Let's bolster jobs. Let's get our products to market. The problem, ladies and gentlemen, through all of this, when you look at Stephen Guilbeault, when you look at the accusations of him funneling money, almost $250 million into his own companies, when you hear about Justin Trudeau shutting it down, and you look at the growth that his personal bank account has had over the last 10 years, it's all about follow the money. It's all about following those that stand to benefit from the shady deals and the woke environmental ideologies that go through our federal government. The problem at the end of the day, folks, is when you look at things on a grander scale, Alberta has and always will have some of the cleanest and safest practices when it comes to fracking and production of liquid natural gas, as well as oil and bitumen. And if we're so concerned about the environment, we should be taking those policies to other countries like China, like India, that are some of the mass polluters of the planet, and encouraging them to use such technologies to clean up their environment if everyone is so worried about the future state of the world. Alberta should lead by example, and we should also have people in the federal government who agree. Now, again, as I stated on yesterday's video, it's very refreshing to hear that Pierre Poilievre wants to expand our oil and gas production and boom, essentially, Canada's economy. I think this will be great for us. I think that he intends to do just what I was talking about by pushing forward Alberta practices and Alberta energy, as well as many of our other industries that stand to gain from having an open market. Let me know what you guys think down below. Do you agree with what Danielle Smith is doing? Are you happy to see some action? Are you happy to see that she's putting her foot down when it comes to the federal government and is prepared to fight back a little bit and show the horns? Let me know what you guys think down below in the comments. If it's your first time here, I hope this video has earned your subscription. Make sure as you're hitting that button, you leave a thumbs up or a comment on the way out as well. It helps us in the old-fashioned algorithm. Also, make sure you turn on your bell for notifications, all that YouTube jazz. Join me here on the channel each and every Friday night for Friday Night Fringe, my live streaming show, where it's not just myself, but my very beautiful wife, Mrs. Fringe, who sits in with us on those streams and joins us for all the stories of what happened this week in politics, as well as some back and forth with you guys in the community. We have the greatest community on this YouTube platform, and that's never going to change. And I hope that if you're new here, you join us this upcoming Friday, sitting at 6 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Central here on the channel. I look forward to chatting with each and every one of you this Friday night. And with that said, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you enjoyed this video and have a great rest of your day. I'll catch you on the next one.